and hello everybody, my name is Lucy and welcome to Books and Brushes. Yeah, what's going on with my hair today, who knows. So I went on my weird little break, kind of back, but I think September I'm going to be doing my regular one video a week on Wednesdays. I usually post it at around 3:30 and I've got a bunch of fun videos coming up in September, so it'll be really fun to release and to film. But before I get to those, I must do my August wrap up. Now you're probably sick, all I do is wrap ups and I do like 2 halves, but this is BookTube and I'm here to talk about books, so it's weird to me that wrap-ups don't do very well because literally what BookTube is, right? Talking about books. But in August I read 11 books again. I read 11 books in July and 11 books in August. I am speed reading. I didn't even mean to do that. Like, it wasn't even the reading rush. I have no excuses for why I read 11. It's pretty cool. It was an accident. Again, I'll split this video into 2 just because no one wants to watch a super long ass video. Let's just get into the first half of the books I read in August. The very first book I read, wow, this feels like so long ago, was The Surface Breaks by Louise Neill, which is a very feminist retelling of The Little Mermaid. And literally, that is the best descriptor of it. That's literally what it did. It took The Little Mermaid story, which, as I've expressed in the past, is, Ariel's just a dumbass and I hate her. She just sees a hot man and is like, ooh, I'm gonna run away from my entire family, go to this obviously evil sea witch, sign a contract I don't read, and who needs a voice when you're good looking and you can just bat your eyelashes and marry the prince.
But without my voice, how can I?
You'll have your looks.
Because that's how life works. Role models, am I right? People say Ariel was like the Renaissance first rebel princess or something. No, she's a dingbat. Anyway, this book takes that Little Mermaid story and makes it a lot darker, makes it a lot more sense, because in this story, you could consider this mild spoilers, but I think it's important to know. In this story, King Triton, or whatever his name is, because all the names are changed in this book, her name's not Ariel, her name's like Gaia? I can't remember, it was a long time ago. But the king is basically abusive. He is a tyrannical king and very icky towards all his daughters. He's marrying Ariel off to some war general merman who is like 3 times her age or something, and Ariel's not comfortable. It's very icky. Essentially, she has a very abusive home life with her father and this man, this stranger she's going to marry. So the reason she runs to the sea witch is out of this desperation to get away from this abusive life, which makes so much more sense. It's more gross, but it makes more sense. And you know me, I love the dark and the depraved. Not for it to actually happen to people, but to explore it in fiction is one of my favourite things. So this took The Little Mermaid from a silly little girl story to a very serious, dark and intense, mystical story, and I really enjoyed it. It did exactly what it said on the tin. Feminist, creepy retelling of The Little Mermaid. Literally, that is the best description, and it was really fun. Also, unlike the Disneyfied version, this shows, you know, it doesn't go right, just like a twisted, dark fairy tale does. They don't often end happy like Disney would have you believe, and this one doesn't either. And her just batting her eyelashes and being pretty and not having a voice isn't gonna bag your husband, let's be real. So this one is a lot more twisted, ominous, dark, and I can't quite remember how it ended because it was so long ago. It wasn't the most magnificent book I've ever read, but it was really fun. It's got the prettiest sprayed edges with like this wavy pattern. Absolutely beautiful. I don't know if it's in focus or not, but either way, I really enjoyed this story. So if you want that feminist retelling, if you want a dark fairy tale, I probably enjoyed this more than Sea Witch. This is a retelling rather than an inspired by prequel villain origin story, which is what Sea Witch was. This is like a retelling, but it takes all the stupid crap from the Disney movie and makes it make sense, makes it dark, and it gave me everything I needed and everything I asked for. The next book I read in August was With the Fire on High by Elizabeth Acevedo. Now, Elizabeth Acevedo has been getting a whole load of hype on BookTube recently. Her poetry has kind of gone on the rise ever since Poet X, which I kind of heard things about, but recently her newer books are really starting to, you know, you see them everywhere, right? This one really took my interest, not just because of this gorgeous cover. I mean, the colours, the portrait, the softness, the fruits, it's just so pretty. But other than the gorgeous cover, I really was intrigued by the synopsis and the premise, which is something you don't read about too much in fiction. So this is about a teen mum who has obviously a little baby girl, and she's still in school. So a large part of this book is her daily life and her being a mum and being a schoolgirl at the same time, trying to figure out where she's going with her life and what she wants her career and future to be. But with everything she does, she has to take into account the child that she has, and it's really interesting to read from a perspective of a teen mum. And this particular instance, this book is written in verse, as Elizabeth Acevedo is known to do. It was such a quick read, it flew by. The chapters are super short, which is really fun. I love short chapters. You can just pause it anytime you need to, and that's great. But yeah, this book did have a few too many. Had a brush she didn't realise she was holding. It happens all the time. I think this is a topic, like I said, you don't really see very much in fiction, teen mums. And the other big aspect of this book was cookery and a passion for cooking. It is a big factor of this book because our main character loves to cook, and she ends up taking this catering course in her school. She loves it. Cooking is her passion. It's not just something she loves to do. She's really talented and very good at it, and it talks about the future and can she have a career in catering, especially with the daughter, because she has to take everything with the daughter into account. They go on this school trip, but of course she has to really think about not only the money but about the daughter and can she go, should she go. She's balancing the dad, who's not really, they're not together anymore, and then future relationships because it feels weird to her and she doesn't want to bring like a new man involved. And the ex, I did not like it, but yeah, I really enjoyed the story. I loved the element of the cooking, her passion for it. I love books where characters have a hobby, you know, where they have a real passion for something, because I'm a very passionate person. I love my hobbies till I die, so I like reading about people that have these hobbies, especially when it's something I don't. I don't know, it's like exploring someone else's passion, and the cooking was really fun to read about. I don't really read much about cooking, and it was really fun. There was a lot of recipes in here. Like the beginning of each part of the book, there's like one of her recipes. I don't know, I just thought it was really, really fun to read and to learn about cooking. I'm really interested in cooking. I love food, but I don't really have a thing for cooking. Like, I really wish I was more into cooking, but I'm too lazy to stand up for that long, if I'm honest. Let's be real. I love watching cooking shows and chefs, you know, I love like Hell's Kitchen and all that stuff. I don't know, I just find that really fun. So it was really interesting to see this person and other people who had such a passionate hobby in cooking and where that could take you in your career and just this girl's life. When I was in school, we had actually a lot of teenage pregnancies, like quite a lot, above average. I think the first girl in my year to get pregnant was 13. That's where I live. And it's interesting just to see all the different circumstances where teen pregnancies happen and the fallout and the life after. So it was interesting to read this perspective in particular, and like I said, it was so quick to fly through and I really enjoyed it. Again, wasn't the most magnificent book I've ever read, but I'm glad I picked it up and it was enjoyable, and that's all I need. The next book I read in August, you're probably going to be sick of hearing me talk about, but I don't really care because that's The Conjuring of Life by B. Schwab. Yes, me and Matthew from Matthew Reads and Writes finished our buddy read of A Conjuring of Life this month, and oh my god, this book, I have no words, just flailing. Okay, again, I don't want to spoil you because I really believe you should go into this series mysterious. Look at this chonker, it's so fat. Bloody hell, I forgot how big it was. It's like, what, almost 700 pages? Almost 700. It is a tome of a book, and yet I flew through this. This book wrapped up this series so well. The beginning of this story, I was just gasping. It was so tense, so high stakes, so ominous, so fantastically, apocalyptically bad and fantastical and crazy intense. It didn't let up. Like, this book had me in this chokehold and it would not let me breathe. All of my babies, my characters were in such danger. The magic and the stakes were higher than ever. There were some amazing character arcs. You finally started to learn certain characters, why they've done the things they've done. One particular morally grey character that I don't want to talk about, but if you've read it, you know. You had this like redemption arc, kind of. I loved the characters. The situation was so fantastical. The visuals, the imagery, so morbid and horrific and disturbing and just brilliantly told. It's so magical. Just this whole book. What a finale. A 700-page tome, and yet it didn't feel like it. This whole book, this whole series wrapped up so amazingly well. I think this might have been my favourite of the 3 books. I'm not sure how, I don't know, but all the relationships came to a head. Everything this series was building up to, it was so fantastic. The baddie was so high stakes, it was insane. And if you haven't read this series by Victoria Schwab yet, get to it. It's good. That's all I need to say. And I'm going to be trying to get everyone I know to read this series. And I love loved it, and this finale was everything I could have asked for. Just gonna stroke it. I read this book ages ago and I still remember so much of this, so much vivid imagery and just the emotions. I pick up this book and I remember when I read it, like how gripped I was, how choked up I was, all the deaths, so many deaths. It was so dramatic and it was so big and it wrapped everything up beautifully, and I love this series. Victoria Schwab, you are my queen. I bow. All hail Victoria Schwab. The next book I read in August was All the Places I've Cried in Public by Holly Bourne. When I picked this up, this was something I picked up in Waterstones as just a wild card. Ah, the days when I could just buy books. Oh, those were good times. But I got around to this book. I was kind of indifferent to it. I was just like, yeah, I'll give this a try, you know. It doesn't seem like my thing, romance, but also sad, you know, about a breakup. Whatever I thought this book would be, it was way better than I could have imagined. I thoroughly enjoyed this book. In fact, it's one of my favourites out of the ones I've talked about. Other than A Conjuring of Life, this is the favourite contemporary I've read this month, I think. Or at least in this first half, definitely. I loved this book. So I'm going to talk about this book in a slightly spoilery way, because I think to know how good this book was and to give you that want to read it, you need to know what it is, and also there's like trigger warnings and stuff which I don't want to keep a secret. So this book is about a girl. So she lives in, I think it's like Sheffield up north in the UK. She's a real northerner girl and she ends up having to move with her family down south. I live in the south, sorry, but she has to end up moving and she kind of leaves her life behind, and she meets this boy and she falls head over heels, and this book takes place after they've broken up, and she's recalling in her mind all of the places that she cried in public during this relationship to try and figure out where it all went wrong and to try and understand what really happened. That's what the book tells you. What the book doesn't tell you is that the relationship she was in was emotionally abusive. That's what made this book so interesting and important to read. So you follow this girl, she's thinking back on all these moments, from the first moment she met him and how she kind of fell for him, and all the moments in between up until they ended, and she's convinced that she loves him, and it's almost like a hysterical kind of love. It's quite disturbing, and by recalling these moments where he made her cry all these different times, we as the audience see what she didn't. And she even mentions it, she refers to it. So she talks about, you know, the first time she met him, and then she'll interject and be like, I should have seen that red flag, didn't. It's so heartbreaking because we're reading this, he gets ickier and ickier, and you start to see the manipulations that he's doing, and you feel so sorry for this girl because it's not her fault. She's not stupid or a dumb person. She just fell for it, and she's just a normal girl, you know, and it would be easy to fall for this. Too easy, and it happens all the time. It's so disconcerting to see her fall in love with this man who we know is manipulating her in these weird, creepy ways, and it's so subtle that she can't see it. We see it, or at least I see it, and it made it such an eerie read. You just smile sadly at it the whole time, and he's quite gross, so there are trigger warnings for emotional abuse, manipulative partners, and I'm gonna say it, rape. Okay, it is what it is. And I'm not talking he shoves her against the wall, she's screaming for help, and it's that kind of rape. It's more of a, you do it if you loved me, you have to do it because of this, this and this. You know you want to, and she doesn't, and she makes explicitly clear she doesn't, and she's uncomfortable, and he convinces her that she has to or she doesn't love him. She ends up going along with it. She says, okay. Neill says, I'll be gentle, and he isn't. She hates it, and I just want to make this abundantly clear, that was rape. It was, okay? It was a more subtle, creepy, and still traumatic kind of rape. I know that people don't want to talk about this, but it's important to disclose and discuss that this is in this book. And if you have any triggers for that kind of thing, it's in here. Be warned. I found it so creepy, and you can see the traumatic effect it has on her and afterwards, and it's so gross because she still thinks she loves him. It's almost worse. I mean, it's neither as good. She talks to this therapist and she loses friends. He isolates her, completely ruins her life, falling in love with this man who doesn't feel anything for her. He's just a manipulative dick fuck. It was a great book. The way it was structured was brilliant. The places I've cried. So chapter 1, the bus stop, and she talks about the first time she met him and how she cried at the bus stop, and then there's that time she cried in London, and then there was the time she cried in the hallway, and the time she cried outside on his front porch. It's in chronological order as she goes through. It's all chronologically, and in interspersed in her current situation, trying to get over and understand what really happened, because while it was happening, she was too close to it to understand what was going on and how it all went really wrong. So the structure of this book was so clever. I thought it flowed beautifully. It wasn't super heavy to read considering the subject matter, because it was subtle. It was more like smiling sadly, you know, you're just like, oh girl, you know you don't want to do this, and the more it gets on, the more you're like, oh, this is gonna go wrong. It wasn't like super heavy, difficult to read. It was actually a breeze to fly through this book. It was so easy, quick to read, and I think the best way to describe it is you will smile sadly the whole time. You just feel this sympathy, and you know, it's got that disconcerting topic, but it's not super heavy to read, and I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really well done. The subject matter is something super important that needs to be talked about more. The formatting was really well done. The writing was really good. It was really honest and down to earth and very sweet. I thought it was a good book. It was really fun to see the UK-ness, you know, the Sheffield northerner girl coming to the south. Sorry the south didn't work out for your love. We didn't exactly, you know, showcase it for you. If you're a northerner, you probably have that nostalgic feeling to being a northerner in this book. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a great book. There's a big thing with music in here as well. The main character loves to sing. There's a lot of characters whose passion is music. So that was a really fun thing to read about and to see. Just to see this girl, this normal, happy, bright, talented girl who met the wrong person and ignored all the wrong flags, and it's not her fault. And reading it, you can see this could happen and does happen to anybody, to so many people, and that's why it was really important. It was a fun read in a weird way. It was an entertaining read, but also with that underlining theme and importance. It was a really great book. I really recommend it. For a wild card, this thing did bloody well, and now I can kind of see why Holly Bourne is a name, because I've heard of her before, and like I picked up this book not really recognising that it was by Holly Bourne. It makes me want to read more by Holly Bourne because I thought it was very cleverly written and it was a great read, so this was really up there for this month. And with that, we're on to the last book for this video. So I read this about halfway through August. The last book I want to talk about in this video is The 8 Pieces of Silva by Patrice Lawrence. It was actually a NetGalley book. It's my first ever NetGalley. If you don't know, NetGalley is a website where you can sign up and you get free ARCs from publishers and authors who are looking to get reviews on their book before they publish it. So you read the book and you give a free, honest review, so you get the book for free. You can put in requests for certain books and get them back. So I signed up for NetGalley and this was the first book I requested and got given, and I hated it. Yep, you heard that right. I hated it. Yep, hated it. Really hated it. If you're new to this channel, I don't often hate books. Either I have a really great radar for knowing when a book isn't, I'm not gonna like it, and avoiding said books because I don't want to read crappy books. I know a lot of people on BookTube, you know, read bad books so that they can trash them and do funny route reviews. And if that's you, cool, I find those videos funny, so there's nothing wrong with that. But I don't seek out bad books, I avoid bad books. My brain is trash enough without adding more fuel to the fire, so I tend to pick books that I'm pretty confident I'm gonna like. And it works for me. Either I'm really not picky when it comes to my books and I just like most things. I don't want to trash authors just and be nitpicky and get every little thing. And also because of my bad book radar, I'm not sure, it's probably all of the above. For those reasons, I don't often trash a book. So this is a rare occasion where I read a book that I really didn't like. So what I'm going to do is, instead of talking about it right here, I'm going to do a separate rant review video for that book. I know, who am I? It's a rare opportunity. I never hate books this bad. I never think I'm gonna accidentally stumble upon a book this bad, and I did. There are worse books out there, but this one just caught me off guard and I need to rant about it, and it will take too long in this video. I never get to do rant reviews, so this is a fun opportunity for me that I organically stumbled across this trash fire. Look out for that. I will be making it and releasing it in September, so get ready for that video because it's going to be a feisty video and it's going to be a fun one. So I'm really looking forward to purging that one out of my system, and I hope you're looking forward to watching it. Thank you for watching this video though, first half of my August wrap up. Thank you for watching wrap up. It's nice when people, you know, watch BookTube to hear about the books people read. That's always a fun time. I know I've only done wrap ups recently, but I will get to other videos soon. In my second half of the August wrap-up, I have some more interesting books to talk about. I have one in particular that I'm really excited to talk about. So I will see you in my next video. Until then, if you could like this video, subscribe, do the things. I just got to 150 subscribers. That's pretty cool. I know that's not a lot considered to most people, but I treasure every single one. And if you want to leave a comment down below, I love comments. Please comment, because I so enjoy talking to people down below in the comments. Have you read any of these books? Do any of these particularly take your fancy that I sold to you? Let me know, and I will see you in my next video.